Greetings, Malifaux fans. This is Crazy Carl back with another Malifaux video battle report. Today I'm bringing you round 2 of the MaliCHOW events put on by McMourning at Jupiter Games in Vestal. This round I was playing against Dennis. We were playing Shared Land Grab at 30 Soulstones. So, Dennis brought along Kaeris as a master with 3 Union Miners, Iggy, and 2 Gunsmiths. And I think that was it. I don't think there's anything beyond that. I brought McMourning because my fixed master was McMourning for this event. So I brought McMourning, the Zombie Chihuahua, 4 Canine Remains, 3 Night Terrors, and a Dead Rider. So I'm sorry, and I think I mentioned that Dennis had 2 Gunsmiths. If I didn't, I did. So I did now, so we're there. So the goal for us here was to have a lot of significant models, but also have models that could kill stuff off. So I think that was a pretty good choice on his part to have Iggy to get some range damage in, as well as the Gunsmiths. The Gunsmiths can do a lot of damage, especially against Rezzers. They can get that plus on the damage flips, which is really useful against the undead. That said, I didn't have that many undead models. I guess more than half my list was undead, but I brought a lot of significant stuff, which doesn't look like it at first, but you'll see why. So the Night Terrors themselves are obviously 3 significant models for 3 Soulstones apiece, which is really, really good. The Zombie Chihuahuas, on the other hand, are great for this because they count as significant when there's 2 or more of them. So that means you get 2 significant models for a total of 4 Soulstones, which you can't beat. I mean, outside of playing Gremlins or something like that. So what you do is you can have the dogs sit in pairs, and then the dogs sit on objectives. They count as two models. So there was one turn where Dennis had Iggy in one zone, and then I had 2 Cannon Remains, and the 2 Cannon Remains counted as significant. So he wouldn't have gotten credit for it. He didn't get credit for it anyway because it was turn 1, and I'd forgotten that we don't count for it. But there you go. Here you can see a picture of the 2 of the dogs I moved up on turn 1 that were just sitting there getting the points or sitting there ready to get points in the deployment zone. For what it's worth, our schemes were, Dennis took Sabotage on the train car, I think, right in front of the dogs there, you can see, and then Holdout, whereas I took Breakthrough, so bad luck on him, and then Bodyguard on McMourning, so 2 fairly easy to take schemes. I didn't know I hadn't played Shared Land Grab before, so I was being a little bit cautious with my schemes, and I think Dennis is a bit of a newer player, so I probably should have tempered my schemes a little bit, but I wasn't playing super cutthroat, so I don't feel awful about it. And I think we had actually had a really good game, despite our differences in experience of the game, so it was really, really fun. Here you can see the Night Terrors moved up, and I kind of made a bit of a goof. I put up the Aura Nightfalls with the Night Terror up in the front, thinking, oh yeah, I can keep his guys from shooting, forgetting that both Kaeris and the Gunsmith have Gunfighter, so if they're within that 6 inches, they can just move up and then be in melee range, which would be fine, or they're outside of the 6 inches, and it doesn't matter. I forgot, Nightfalls is a really neat ability, but it's only really good, I feel, on boards that have different elevated terrain. So if you have a tower or something, you can put a Night Terror up there, put Nightfalls up, and then hopefully cloak the models that are in the aura without being in danger of being shot back at. But that was neither here nor there. That just ended up not working out that way. So I basically had 2 teams. I had a bunch of models sitting off on one side of the board to be distractors, and then we both basically had our killing models on either side of the board. So I had McMourning paired with the Dead Rider to deal some damage to the Union Miners and the Gunsmith, whereas Iggy and Kaeris went off to deal with the Canine Remains and Night Terrors. So it was interesting how we both kind of split our crews in about the same way. It's possible I should have tossed the Dead Rider over to try and deal with that corner of the board where the Night Terrors and the Canine Remains were, but I was basically hoping that I could wipe up the models on my left side of the board and then go fight on the right side of the board with everything, as opposed to splitting things up and then not having a lot to back things up. It's because the Dead Rider's great and McMourning are both great. They're great on their own. However, they do want a little bit of support. So I figured I have them support each other. It's going to be pretty unstoppable if his forces are divided and mine are pretty concentrated, which is what the case was. I had these 2 dogs. He had Grudge. Grudge was not. Holdout wasn't his scheme. He had Grudge. He had Grudge on that dog right there, the pug, the number, I think it was Cannon is range number 4. Which he never really got to at all because I just kept the Cannon Remains back. It's a bit of an echo to round 1 where I played against Pat, and Pat had his Slurred sitting in the corner of the board the entire game, whereas I just had that 1 Cannon Remains sitting there camping points. I didn't feel too bad having 8 Soulstones worth of models just camping points. That was fine with me. So here you can see one of the Union Miners tried to sabotage the train car, and I made a choice to go after it and kill it with McMourning just to kind of get it out of the way. I remember that sabotage at the last moment is you score it and then you don't lose those points. So I figured I'd kill him off and not have to deal with those points later in the game. Plus, I have McMourning sitting next to all of his models, and there's no way they can safely sabotage. He's not going to out-activate me, and it's not going to be an issue. So Dennis actually did a really neat little trick here. He put up the fire pillars to, I guess, keep my... He's kind of joking, like, oh, I'll keep the Night Terrors from going where you want them to go. I'm like, okay, I don't really care. And then he tossed Gunsmith behind it, and I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, that happens. Then next turn he won initiative, and unbeknownst to me, I completely forgot about the Lead Storm spell. He cast Lead Storm and knocked all my Night Terrors down to 1 wound because it's spell damage. So that was really good on his part. Here you can see Iggy, and Iggy killed off one of my Canine Remains after moving out of cover. Dennis was a little bit leery of doing that, but I reminded him that Canine Remains are just not very dangerous models, despite the fact that this Canine Remains actually, I think, did a severe damage on Iggy during this charge action, but never mind that. That's not usually how it goes. He was a little bit confused, I think, on he understood the cover rules, but he wasn't quite sure, like, how it worked on the board. So I just helped him through it a little bit and pointed out you can move into a certain spot and ignore cover modifiers, and Iggy's ranged expert killed off one of the Canine Remains. He was going for the blast because the blast would have killed off both of them, but it just didn't happen between the hard wound and their fairly high defense. So he killed off one, and then basically Iggy and that Canine Remain spent the entire rest of the game dancing around each other. You can see the Dead Rider. My Dead Riders are the worst. I've tried 2 turns in a row this game. I tried to drag along something and hit the Black Joker on damage. Last time I played the Dead Rider, 2 turns in a row, I tried to drag something along, hit the Black Joker for damage. So it was just. Ugh, it was miserable. Stupid Dead Rider just can't do any good. I think he's actually jealous. He's mad that his ammo exists and he wants to be able to do things, but whatever. McMourning, for his part, had gathered up a lot of body parts at this point and plopped down the Rogue Necromancy, and that gave him leave to move up towards the other part of the board and do some more work. So he went out to deal with the Gunsmith while the Rogue Necromancy sat and basically flailed at the 2 Union Miners. I don't think I killed off either of them. I may have killed one. I couldn't kill both. So the Rogue Necromancy did a little bit of work. For her part, Kaeris, we were actually running really low on time at this point, so Kaeris was moving towards me, but wasn't able to quite get to me in time. The Dead Rider, again, tried to drag along Iggy to get him out of the way so I could dominate one of the table corners for extra points. And Dennis actually ended up winning 2 land grab on 2 turns, and I only got it for 1, which was pretty cool, despite the fact I had more models. I thought it was a really good play on his part. But the Dead Rider is just, I think he's camera shy and just doesn't want to drag things along. I don't know. It was awkward. I was not very pleased with my Dead Rider at the end of this game. So Iggy, again, sitting with my Canine Remains, who is not significant because he doesn't have any models near him. So the game ended up ending. I ended up using McMourning to summon a, what should we call it? Guild Autopsy. I can't even remember the name of the model because I never summoned them. I summoned him to get my breakthrough and also nab me a table corner because it was one more significant model. I didn't want to summon a Flesh Construct because I didn't have the distance to summon it and then have it not walk in a way that would get it out of the deployment zone. So I ended up getting 2 points for my bodyguard, 2 points for my breakthrough, and then 1 point for my shared land grab, whereas Dennis ended up not getting either of his schemes, but he got 2 points for his shared land grab. So it was a difference of 5-2. Really great game. We had a lot of fun, despite not running out of time. I think the game would end up about the same way, so it wasn't so bad. So we had a great time, and I hope to see you guys next game when I'm talking about round 3.